Good morning. You've reached Gloria with Farmstead Talk, and I'm here today with Chantal Johnson. And Chantal is with Offgridincolor. Welcome, Chantal, and thank you for joining me this morning.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Sure, no problem. If you would share with the viewers where they can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find Offgridincolor on Instagram at Offgridincolor or Facebook also at Offgridincolor.
Okay, great. And before we get started, I just wanted to share with the audience that Chantal's got a lot of information to share, and I couldn't get everything into one video. So we're going to be doing a 4-part series, and today we'll be talking about her farming venture and how she got to where she is today. So this is part 1 of a 4-part series. So Chantal, if you can tell a little bit about who you are and how you got to be where you are today with Offgridincolor.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Chicago on the southeast side, in a poor neighborhood, raised by my mother pretty much as a single parent. I am 2 of 5 of her beautiful children. I like the star child. I went off to college and got good grades in high school and traveled the world. I got a master's degree in social work from the University of Washington. Volunteered for AmeriCorps, doing some service, and all while I'm out here pulling myself up by my bootstraps. My brothers were suffering in Chicago, having run-ins with the law, and unfortunately being shot and one ultimately killed. That left me with a bunch of questions of what am I doing? Who am I doing this for? If I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do and so many people are suffering. Upon the death of my youngest brother, who was 19 at the time in 2015, I quit my research cushy job and I got lost in the woods to help heal myself from depression and ultimately teaching people how to live more sustainably, transforming their pain into power, and living in one with Mother Earth and building community.
I'm sorry to hear about your brother. That's a very sad situation.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit what you told me about the educational practices in Chicago and how that influenced you too?
Yeah, I realized pretty early, I would say somewhere around my junior year in high school, I got a B on a paper and I didn't get B's. I got all A's. And I went to it was actually my African American history teacher, and I asked him about this B I got. And he told me if I went to Naperville High School, that the B paper I received would have been a C. And it hit me then that so many students in Chicago public school systems, and I'm sure around the country, are being pushed through, thinking that they have one grade, but they have another. And I later on learned, while I was in college, I would go back and forth to my high school to, encourage young folks to go to college. And one teacher told me that they had to give certain students certain grades to get money for the school. But ultimately, that really hurts the student. And it definitely hurt me when I went to college and I had a tough time with basic reading, writing, math, and sciences. I went to Carleton College with a 4.3 GPA that I got from high school. And my first trimester there, I had a 2.5 GPA. So I really had to learn the fundamentals of just learning basic things that I didn't learn in high school. And I was in a setting with folks who went to private schools. And we all know, anything about Naperville High School in Illinois, that school is well funded. And so things like that, the educational system and the criminal justice system and things like that, what I like to call systematic oppression, really played a role, I believe, in my brother's death and how I had to navigate the system to get ahead. Yeah.
Understood. Did you have a mentor, or how did you know that you wanted to go into farming, and how did you learn about those practices since you came from Chicago and you never had that life experience? How did you learn about that?
Yeah, I've had mentors in various areas in my life, but never in agriculture or farming. I met someone along the way, and he just taught me the ropes. He taught me how to pasture raise animals, how to grow food, how to start a wood stove, and I just took those fundamentals learnings from him, and I just started to learn a little bit more on YouTube or just reading the book. So I'm really a self-taught farmer, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And what type of animals are you raising right now?
I'm currently raising pigs, chickens, and turkeys.
Nice. And what is your method of farming?
I like to do what I call a pasture raising. So I pasture raise the poultry on land, and I forest raise pigs. And people always asking me, what is forest raised pork? That's what I call my meat. I pretty much just have pigs in the woods, and I rotate them around the woods so they're not doing damage to the earth.
Nice. And do you have a coop for your chickens, and do they come in at night, or what is your practice with the chickens?
So for my meat birds, I just have an enclosed shelter that I put them in at night. It's also used for rain protection too. So during the day they're out running around, and in the evening I put them away, or during inclement weather I put them away. But for the most part, they're just inside of an electric fence, and they get to run around.
Nice. Do you have problems with predators since you're out in the woods?
Oh yes. This past spring I had an issue with I want to say a raccoon, and late this summer I had an issue with a possum. So because when you're raising your animals outdoors, you also are competing with Mother Earth's creatures.
That's right.
And sometimes Mother Earth, she wins.
Yeah, sometimes she does, and it's not a pretty picture, is it?
Yeah.
Have you had anything? Have you had any problems with the bigger animals, like with the pigs being out in the forest? Have you had any bigger predators trying to attack the pigs?
No, pigs are really useful for keeping most predators off. So I haven't had any issues with any predators messing with pigs. Only my poultry, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. And how are you selling your meat right now?
I'm currently selling most of my meat at the farmers market here in Salisbury, North Carolina. And then I also participate in special markets, like twice a year. I travel to Durham, which is about an hour and a half away from Salisbury, and they have a black farmers market. So they have it around Juneteenth in June and around Thanksgiving in November.
I've seen some pictures on your social media with like barbecuing and cooked meats and things. Is that your personal pictures, or is that like something that you're posting that you offer at the farmers markets?
Yeah, so those pictures are either food that I have prepared or have been prepared by my customers. So I raise them, I cook them and I eat them. And so I like to show people the different ways they can prepare it. I get lots of questions of what do I do with this meat, or what do I do with this cut? So I try to showcase to customers different ways you can prepare it, or showcase other customers prepared meals so other people can get ideas of how they can prepare the meat that they receive from the farm.
Very nice. So how do you go about selling meat at the farmers markets? Do you have to have a state certification? And what is the Safe Food Handling Act there in your state?
Right. So the main certification you have to have is what they call a meat handler's permit. And that just means that you know how to safely handle meat. So my meat is in a cooler, and it has to be at this temperature with this much ice to keep it at that temperature to make sure that the meat doesn't unthaw and it's unsafe for consumers to eat. So that's the main thing you need in order to sell meat. But farming is one of those practices that you don't need a lot of certifications to have. You can just start up and raise you some animals and take them to a processor, or get a permit to process them yourself. So in North Carolina, can't process pigs on your own. So I do take those to the butcher. I do have my own permit to process poultry, but I take those to the slaughter facility as well, because I just have so many and I don't have the capacity to do them all myself. But I do have a permit to do them.
So then once they're processed, you take your meats, whether it be pork or the poultry, and then you are able to sell them at the farmers market?
Yep, it looks just like you get it from the grocery store.
Okay, nice. That's really nice. Is your meat considered organic? And do you have an organic certification, or is that required in your state?
Oh, I love this question. Um, Organic is just honestly a label. No, I'm not organic. I consider what I do non-GMO. I can buy conventional feed, or I can buy non-GMO feed, or I can buy organic feed. And the difference between all those is how the grain was raised. So whether it was using a non-GMO seed or a GMO seed, or whether it was sprayed with pesticides or not. For a tiny farm like me, it doesn't make sense for me to get an organic certification because of all the fees that comes along with it. So what I try to tell my customers is, come visit the barn, come see how the animals are raised, come touch them, come hold them, check out the processing facility. All the information is online for your viewing. Ask me questions. That's way better any day than buying organic chicken from your local grocery store or something like that.
Yeah. And does that ever occur? Do you ever have people come out to the farm?
Oh yeah, often. I encourage and invite people. I have monthly homestead tours where people come out and they can see this self-sufficient lifestyle I'm having in action.
Do you think you're impacting people's lives when they see all the fresh food that you offer?
Oh yes, people are so amazed when they come to the farm and they only see a handful of pigs and not as many poultry. And it's because the way I do it on social media, I really want people to feel like this lifestyle is accessible, and you don't have to raise hundreds of animals to be successful or to make a profit. There's a lot of different branches of Offgridincolor, and farming is just one small piece of it. And what I do is I raise enough meat for myself, and I sell the excess at the farmers market or through making deliveries.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that there's different branches of to Offgridincolor, and that's why we'll be venturing into these to the 4-part series, because we'll be going through each service that you offer, which is really great for your community. And once again, I just want to say how impressed I am with the work that you're doing. I really stand behind you.
Thank you.
So what type of produce are you growing right now?
I do not grow produce. When I initially started getting into the farming business of agriculture, I was trying to grow produce, and I primarily focused on microgreens. But as Offgridincolor grew and expanded, I really had to make better business decisions. So I decided to take away anything that wasn't meat. So I was raising eggs, and I was growing microgreens and trying to grow other produce, and I just wasn't that successful because I had too many hands in the pot doing too many things, including the other branches of Offgridincolor. So I strictly just raise animals for meat.
Okay, very good. So tell me a little bit about the food preservation. I mean, I know after you butcher, you probably put them in the freezer till market time, but what about, is there any special food practices or preservation that you do for your own well-being, for your own self?
Yeah, so I like to can. So I can as much as I can when I have the time. So I like to can chicken, and I like to can beans. Those are the most things that I do. But I also like gifting the odd parts of the meat to other people who I know like to make bone broth. I recently gave away some pork neck bones and some chicken backs. And my dear friend, she made some split pea ham soup that she jarred, and she made some turkey broth from her turkey she got from me last year. She still has some pizzas in there, and she took the chicken back, and she also made broth and some other soups. So those are other ways in which I do food preservation. I gift it to other people, and people give me things back.
That's nice. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Love to hear that. Sharing with your community.
Yep.
Go ahead and tell me what you're doing right now in regards to your fundraiser.
Yes. So Offgridincolor mission is to encourage others to take greater steps towards self-sufficiency. And we do that by raising quality meat, dual services, and community outreach. And we'll get to those other two aspects in later interviews. But what we're focusing on for this fundraiser is the Offgridincolor meat operation, a farm operation. I like to, when I go to the market, I like to talk about the meat operation as the meat boutique, describing it as just, you know, when you go to a boutique, you think it's something unique and you spend a little bit more on that sweater that no one else has. And that's kind of what happens in this niche farming that I do. I go to farmers markets and I'm able to charge a little bit more than you do in your grocery store, because you're working directly with me, the farmer. And this is our first annual, this is Offgridincolor's first annual Richie Fundraiser. And Richie is my brother who was shot in Chicago in 2014 and died 15 months later in Chicago. And I started Offgridincolor because I was in depression and trying to find a way out of this crazy system. And in his death, I birthed Offgridincolor. So every year in the fall, we're going to do a fall farm raiser in honor of Richie, in hopes of spreading awareness around just systemic oppression, mental health, and the importance of consuming good food like high quality meat for your nutrition and diet.
Very nice. With that, Chantal, I'm going to go ahead and close this first segment that we're doing. And thank you so much for being with us today. And we're going to talk real soon for our next series, which is going to be about off-grid and tiny living.
All right.
So, okay. Well, you have a great day, and thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now.